The smell hit me first when I arrived at what should have been my empty farm. Expensive cologne mixed with fresh coffee from a catering setup. Cars lined the gravel drive. A white tent stood in my south pasture. Through the kitchen window, I saw my sister Nicole gesturing expansively to a couple in business casual, her hands painting pictures of their future on my land. I parked behind the catering van and walked toward my own front porch like a stranger. There are development opportunities here, Nicole was saying, her voice carrying through the screen door. The current owner has no vision. It's been in the family for years, just sitting here generating minimal income. The couple nodded, already mentally bulldozing my apple orchards. I pushed open the door. The kitchen had been staged. My work boots moved, fresh flowers on the table I'd built myself, my grandmother's quilt folded artfully over a chair it had never touched. Can I help you? Nicole turned, her realtor smile firmly in place. Then recognition hit. Oh. I didn't expect you today. At my own home? We're conducting showings. She hadn't left a message. This is Mr. and Mrs. Patterson. They're very interested. Mrs. Patterson extended her hand. Your sister mentioned you're finally ready to let it go. Did she? Nicole's jaw tightened, that little tell she's had since childhood when a lie is about to be exposed. Could you give us a moment? The Pattersons retreated to the porch and Nicole's smile vanished. Don't make a scene. I'm trying to help you. Help me. You're drowning here. Everyone knows it. Working yourself to death for what? I'm giving you an exit strategy. By forging my signature on a listing agreement? Her face flushed. I did what needed to be done. You're too proud to admit you're failing. Through the window I watched another car pull up. A man in a suit emerged, carrying a leather folder. Behind him a white county vehicle appeared, official seal visible on the door. That's the appraiser, Nicole said, checking her phone. Don't embarrass yourself. The county assessor arrived first, a woman in her 50s carrying a tablet and wearing steel-toed boots that had seen actual farm work. She knocked, then entered when Nicole called out. Good afternoon. I'm Margaret Chin, County Agricultural Assessor. I'm here for the scheduled property valuation on the Riverside Farm Trust. Nicole's smile was confident. Perfect timing. We have the listing appraiser here as well. Margaret glanced at her tablet, then at me. Mr. Harrison, I didn't realize you'd be present. I live here, I said. Margaret's eyebrows rose slightly. She looked at Nicole, then back to me. And this is one of the 17 properties in the Agricultural Trust, correct? I have Riverside Farm listed as Parcel 047A in my records. The room went silent. Nicole recovered first. 17 properties? No, this is the farm. The only property. Margaret pulled up a screen on her tablet. The Riverside Agricultural Trust, established 2018, contains 17 parcels totaling 4,263 acres across 3 counties. This property is the administrative center, but it's one of the smaller holdings at 140 acres. The private appraiser had joined us now, his leather folder forgotten. I was told this was the full extent of the property. May I see that listing agreement? Margaret asked. Nicole's hand trembled slightly as she retrieved it from her designer bag. Margaret examined it, her expression professional but increasingly concerned. This signature would constitute a binding contract to sell trust property. Mr. Harrison, did you sign this document? No. The word hung in the air like smoke. Margaret set the document on my kitchen table. Ms. Harrison, this is a serious matter. Forging authorization to sell agricultural trust property is a felony. The listing price of $8 million suggests intent to commit significant fraud. Fraud. Nicole's voice cracked. I'm his sister. I was trying to help. You listed property you don't own and can't legally convey. Margaret's voice remained level, but steel ran through it. How many showings have been conducted? The realtor cleared his throat. 12 scheduled tours over the past 3 days. Multiple offers expected by Monday. All based on fraudulent representation of ownership, Margaret said. He turned to me. Mr. Harrison, I need to verify the scope of your trust. The county has been tracking your agricultural conservation work with interest. I pulled out my phone and opened the file I kept for moments like this. The trust documents, all 17 property deeds, the conservation easements. Margaret scrolled through them, her expression shifting from professional concern to something approaching respect. Riverside Farm is your homestead. Then you have the Miller Orchards, the Donnelly Dairy Conversion, the Westbrook Organic Vegetables. She looked up. You've been quietly assembling a regional food network. Quietly is the key word, I said. Nicole had gone pale. That's not possible. You can barely maintain this place. You drive a 15-year-old truck. Your clothes are, she gestured at my work jeans, permanently stained with honest dirt. I drive a paid-off truck, I said. I wear clothes that can get dirty. Because I work. The trust generated approximately $1.4 million in revenue last year, Margaret said, still scrolling. With operating costs of $620,000. The Pattersons had abandoned any pretense of privacy and were now frankly staring through the screen door. Nicole sank into one of my kitchen chairs. This can't be real. Mom and Dad always said you were struggling. That you needed help. They said that, I agreed. I never did. The private appraiser was making a phone call. Margaret was taking notes. The realtor was calculating how to extract himself from a fraud case. And Nicole was experiencing what I'd been planning for months without knowing I was planning it. The moment when her version of reality shattered against actual facts. I'd kept my success quiet for reasons that seemed obvious. I didn't want input. I didn't want advice. I didn't want family members showing up with opinions about how I should run my life. I'd watched my father accept their help for years, seen how it gave them permission to criticize, to manage, to control. So I built something they couldn't see. 17 properties purchased strategically over 8 years. Each one profitable. Each one part of a larger vision that required no explanation to people who thought farming was a hobby for people who couldn't hack real business. The gambler's fallacy had trapped me once. I'd spent years feeding the slot machine of family approval, convinced that the next achievement would finally pay out. The farm profitable? Not impressive, just luck. 3 properties. Risky and irresponsible. 6 properties. Proof I was overextended. By the time I reached 17, I'd stopped reporting the wins. Margaret was talking to someone on her phone now. Yes, attempted sale of trust property through forged documentation. Multiple potential victims. 12 parties toured under fraudulent representation. She paused. Yes, I'll wait for the county attorney. Nicole stood abruptly. I need to call our parents. They're already on their way, the realtor said quietly. Mrs. Patterson called your mother 10 minutes ago. They've been waiting in town. Of course they had been. The commission on $8 million would have been substantial. I could picture them at the cafe, drinking expensive lattes while they planned how to spend their percentage of my fraud sale. 30 minutes later, my parents arrived in my father's Lexus, the one he'd purchased after declaring at Thanksgiving that I should get serious about building equity instead of throwing money into dirt. Mom rushed in first, her perfume overwhelming the honest smell of farm work. What's going on? Nicole said there's been some kind of misunderstanding. She stopped when she saw Margaret's county badge. Dad followed, his presence filling the room the way it always had. Someone needs to explain why my daughter is being accused of forging her brother's signature to fraudulently sell property she doesn't own, Margaret said crisply. It's not fraud if we're family, Dad said. This is a family property. Actually, it's not. I pulled out the original trust documents. This land was left to me by Grandma Harrison. I purchased the other 16 properties with my own capital. None of you have ownership, authority, or legal standing. Mom's face crumpled. But we've been helping you manage. All our advice was unsolicited and unwelcome. The words came out flatter than I'd intended, but they were true. Every family dinner where they discussed my situation, like I wasn't there. Every phone call with suggestions for cutting costs or finding a real job. Every birthday where their gift was advice wrapped in condescension. I'd built my own ledger over those years. The ghost ledger, I called it. The accounting of costs that never appeared on balance sheets. The ghost ledger emotional costs. Christmas 2019. Announcement of farm purchase met with 40-minute lecture on poor judgment. Cost. Joy in achievement never recoverable. Easter 2020. Sister's new car discussed extensively while my conservation award mentioned once as nice. Cost. Self-esteem slowly drained. Thanksgiving 2021. Stepped away from dinner to take emergency call about grant approval. Returned to find family discussing my inability to be present. Cost. Opportunity to share $200,000 grant news. Mother's Day 2022. Brought mom flowers from my greenhouse. She mentioned they weren't as nice as the ones Dad bought. Cost. Memory now soured. Dad's birthday 2023. Listened to hour-long monologue about building wealth. He didn't know I'd just closed on my 14th property. Cost. Relationship with father where honesty was possible. The list continued, but I'd stopped keeping detailed track. The cost had become a constant background hum, the price of admission to a family that had decided who I was without asking. Margaret's phone rang. She stepped onto the porch to take it, leaving us in silence that felt like pressure building. Nicole broke first. You let us think you were failing. I let you think what you chose to think. I never asked for help. I never claimed to be struggling. You decided that, then treated me accordingly. Because you live like you're broke. Mom gestured at my kitchen. Clean, functional, sparse. I bought 4,000 acres. That felt nice. Dad's jaw worked. You should have told us. Why? So you could manage me more efficiently. The county attorney arrived then, a brisk woman carrying a briefcase. Margaret filled her in quietly on the porch. When they returned, the attorney's expression was grim. Ms. Nicole Harrison, I'm Claudia Torres, county attorney. Based on the evidence, we'll be filing charges of forgery, fraud, and attempted theft by deception. The listing agreement constitutes intent to defraud. Given the property value involved, these are Class B felonies. Nicole's face went white. I didn't know about the other properties. Ignorance doesn't excuse forging a signature, Torres said. You created a fraudulent document, misrepresented your authority, and induced 12 parties to invest time based on false pretenses. The realtor cleared his throat. For the record, Ms. Harrison represented herself as having power of attorney. Did you verify that power of attorney? Torres asked. His silence was answer enough. My father found his voice. Surely we can resolve this as a family. My son won't press charges against his own sister. Everyone turned to look at me. I'd thought about this moment, though not in these specific terms. I'd imagined various confrontations, different revelations. But the core question was always the same. When would I stop accepting unacceptable behavior because we shared genetics? I'll be pressing charges, I said. Mom gasped. Nicole started crying. Dad's face went red with fury. You'd destroy your sister over a misunderstanding? He demanded. She forged my signature and tried to sell my home. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a crime. Torres nodded. Mr. Harrison has that right. Given the severity and dollar amounts involved, we'll move forward immediately. The procedural machinery began turning. Torres documented everything. The forged listing agreement, the showing schedule, the commission arrangements. Margaret provided assessment records showing the trust's full scope. The realtor offered his files showing Nicole's misrepresentations. Nicole was advised of her rights. My parents made frantic calls to an attorney. The Pattersons were interviewed. Each step was a small devastation, a microclimax in the collapse of Nicole's version of reality. By evening, Nicole had been formally charged. Bail was set at $50,000. My parents scrambled to arrange it. Their retirement account suddenly pressed into service. They left without speaking to me. Nicole, released on bail, stood beside their car looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I was trying to help, she said. You were trying to control something that was never yours to control. I watched them drive away, their taillights disappearing down the road I'd repaired myself, between apple trees I'd planted with my own hands. The silence after they left felt different. It felt like possibility. Over the following weeks, the consequences cascaded. Immediate 48 hours. All 12 prospective buyers were contacted by the county attorney. 3 threatened legal action later settled. Nicole's real estate license was suspended pending investigation. My parents stopped calling after I didn't answer the first 17 attempts. Professional, 3 weeks. Local news covered the farmland fraud scheme. Nicole's real estate firm terminated her contract. The county recognized my conservation work publicly. 2 other family helpers came forward with similar stories of Nicole's overreach. Financial, 2 months. Nicole's legal fees exceeded $30,000. My parents depleted significant retirement savings for her defense. They had to sell the Lexus, now driving a used Honda. The lifestyle they'd funded through assumed inheritance expectations collapsed. Social ongoing. The local farming community reached out with respect and collaboration offers. My parents stopped attending town events where people asked questions. Nicole moved 2 towns away, unable to face community judgment. Legal 4 months. Nicole pled guilty to reduced charges. Sentencing included 2 years probation, restitution for all parties' expenses, and 500 hours community service. The judge noted that family relationship does not grant license to commit fraud. My parents attended sentencing. They sat behind Nicole, aged in ways that weren't just physical. After the hearing, Dad approached me in the courthouse hallway. "Are you satisfied now?" His voice carried none of its usual command. "I'm not satisfied. I'm no longer subsidizing your cruelty with my silence. We were your parents." "Were," I said. "Yes. That's the right tense." Mom tried once more 3 weeks later. A letter arrived, written on her expensive stationery. She detailed Nicole's struggles, the strain on their finances, the family torn apart. She asked if I'd really throw away our relationships over pride. I didn't respond. Some questions answer themselves. 6 months after that day with the county assessor, I stood in the same kitchen where it all unfolded. The staging flowers were gone. My work boots sat by the door where they belonged. Grandma's quilt lay across the chair she'd intended. My savings account had reached its highest point ever. Without the constant emotional drain of managing family expectations, I'd found energy for expansion. Property 18 was under contract. A small vineyard that would complete the regional food network. I'd booked a trip to New Zealand to study their agricultural cooperatives. 3 weeks of learning and silence that felt like peace rather than punishment. The ghost ledger was closed. I'd stopped tracking costs I'd never be repaid. The balance showed clearly now. I'd been in debt for years, paying with self-respect for the privilege of being underestimated. Now the account was closed. The balance was 0. And I was finally in the black. The silence in my farmhouse felt different now. Not empty but clean. Not lonely but spacious. The kind of quiet where you can hear yourself think, plan, grow. I poured coffee in my own kitchen at my own pace, wearing my own honest dirt. Outside, 17 properties waited. Not hidden anymore, not secret, but simply mine. Built without permission, maintained without approval, thriving without their input. The land didn't care about family drama. It required work, wisdom, and patience. Things I had in abundance once I stopped spending them on people who'd never valued the investment. There is no place for them in my world anymore. My future grows from the 17 fortresses I built while they weren't looking, on land that remembers only honest sweat and careful planning. And that's exactly enough.